Hi, we're here today with Rouse, an author that lives not too far from us, and his partner Gary. And they were kind enough to come over and do a workshop, a writing workshop for Lindsay and I. And it's been a great day, valuable information, invaluable, very helpful. And we have Jasper here. He wanted to share with you as well.
Cutest dog ever.
But Wade, we were talking earlier about passion and being true to yourself and finding your authentic self. And obviously for you, that's being a writer. And how did you come about being a writer and knowing that writing was what you wanted to do, and then, you know, moving beyond that fear and moving, having the strength to follow that passion?
I always wanted to be a writer. As we were talking, I told them this story, by the way. I sang Delta Dawn. I went to a very rural school in the Ozarks and made the hideous mistake of singing Delta Dawn, and I got booed off stage, and I ran off stage and was upset with my mother. I'm like, how can you let me do this? And she said, you were just being true to yourself. And she gave me a little writing journal and a copy of Irma Bombeck's At Wit's End, and I started to kind of write about my family in the same way Irma Bombeck did. So I always wanted to be a writer, but it's not something that necessarily little gay chubby boys did in the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of put that aside for a very long time until I couldn't really take it anymore. And I had this story about growing up and the love of my family that I wanted to tell, and I really felt as though I was suffocating until I could get that story down. Mm-hmm. And so I started writing about it, and I started it as a novel and had to overcome, I think, incredible fear. It's another thing we've been talking about today, which is, you know, Americans are really burdened by fear in their lives, not by passion or pursuing what they love to do, but just being scared. And that's the way I was. I felt it wasn't okay to be a writer, that I would never be successful, that I wouldn't make enough money to pay off student loans. My father's an engineer, and it wouldn't fit within his path that he saw for me. And then when I sat down to write my story, trying to make it as fiction to start, I was still scared. And only until I started to write it from my own truth with as much beauty as I knew I could tell the story, did everything kind of unhinge and unleash itself. So I think everybody has to approach, whether you're a writer or not, your life as fearless as possible. Mm-hmm. I told you I've tried to recreate fear and to free every artistic response. So whenever you start to become scared, that should really just motivate you to be even that much more fearless and mm-hmm. creative in whatever endeavor it is.
Well, I think we all have, I know we all have certain gifts or certain talents that we came here with that we need to share. So everybody has what you have in a different form, but what do you think sets you apart from others in that you followed it, where, you know, millions of other people don't?
I think for me it's, you know, there was a lot that I dealt with in my life. You know, growing up gay in a small town in a rural area, my older brother died when I was young. And he had just finished high school. I was entering high school. I, you know, tried not to cause my parents any more pain. I tried to normalize myself as much as I could. I ended up gaining probably 120 pounds to isolate myself from the world. And there's a point in which everything came together for me. I realized I wasn't wrong, I wasn't a bad person, I fell in love, I lost weight, I reconnected with my spirituality, I found great strength from my family, and I wasn't scared anymore. I felt like I'd overcome so much that there was no longer anything that could scare me.
What was that point? So there was a point that you overcame? What happened? Is there a single?
Yeah, I think, a number of things. I think, one, and when I thought about taking my own life, I thought about being alone my whole life. And I think falling in love was one of the greatest things to happen to me, because I met one of the most honest human beings on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And everything really clicked. I began to like myself again. I began to have a passion for life again. I knew that I was hiding who I was, and that wasn't doing me or the world any good whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And through this ended up being the strength of my family, and that's the story I wanted to tell. And I wanted to be fearless in telling my first book, as I do all of my books. And I don't know, I wasn't scared about telling the story. I wasn't scared about failing. Mm-hmm. Nothing, there wasn't anything I felt I couldn't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw an open door. And I just, every day I feel impassioned to write still.
Was it, what popped into my head was a validation of who you are? Is that maybe what you felt?
Yeah, very much so. I had spent 3 decades trying to hide who I was. Through grade school, through high school, through college, and then in my early adult years. And I was a shell of a human being. You talk about authentic self, I was never my authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to be what everybody wanted me to be. I tried to fit into their category, and I was miserably unhappy. And when that stopped, and I really kind of embraced who I'd always been, the person I was as a child, the one that was writing and journaling, it all clicked. Everything made sense. I don't mean that to sound cliche, but I could see my path in this world. I could see it clearly, and nothing was going to stop me.
So that was really the safe place for you when you think about it.
It was my safe place. It was.
People think that they need to be somebody else to be safe. And there's a lot of times, and what they don't realize is the safe place is really being your authentic self.
Yeah.
And now that you're there, you have evidence of that.
And it's amazing to me how many trying to be somebody else, trying to fit everybody else's wants, I hurt people. I don't know, I just was never me to them. I hurt people, and since that changed, since I was 31, and I'm no longer 31. I'm 30-ish. Joking. It's amazing what has been drawn to me. I feel like I changed my life. I feel like I'm changing others' lives. There's been the gifts that I've been given, that I hope that I've given others. It's just been an incredible change and positive flow. It's incredible.